Hello and good morning. My name is Nick Marro. I'm here with Occupy Fantasy to talk you through today's six-game NBA slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We'll be discussing the main slate on both sites today, which locks at 7 o'clock. Again, six games. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. And yeah, I'm just going to walk you through quickly, just really a high-level overview of the slate, discuss any injuries that we need to keep an eye on, which backups are going to become relevant plays, and yeah, I'll speak through my favorite overall plays leaning on the Occupy NBA model. If you haven't already, please click like and subscribe. It helps us keep these videos towards the top of the YouTube algorithm. And if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, I encourage you to come join us. You get access to our lineup builder, you get access to our model. And yeah, just a great community of guys and gals in the Discord there to help you become a better DFS player. We offer question and answers in text form and in live audio. Uh, 30 minutes leading into lock each slate. For NBA, obviously news is pretty much everything. If you don't have a place where you can kind of bounce off your thoughts and ideas, it's really tough to consistently win money. And yeah, we'll keep you updated as news breaks throughout the day and throughout the slate. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk through these six games here. Um, Pretty fun slate, I think. I like the size. When we're dealing with 13 games, obviously, it's easy to miss out on plays. And when you have a really small slate, it's kind of easy. I don't know. I mean, the margin of error gets very small. So these kind of 6 to 8 gamers are my favorite. And yeah, we got a couple games that lock at 7 o'clock. We'll start there. We have the Boston Celtics at Detroit Pistons. The Boston Celtics are 9.5 point favorites on the road in Detroit. They are on a back-to-back. Both teams are. So that should negate itself a little bit. Yeah, Boston blew out the Pistons the other night at home, um, which isn't the most surprising thing you'll see. The big piece of news here right now is Malcolm Brogdon still questionable. If he's out again, we could see more minutes for a Marcus Smart, for a Derek White, and a little bit more usage for someone like Al Horford. I think these are all decent plays we want to take a look at today. I think they're priced pretty reasonably on both sides. Yeah, Tatum's still 10-3. Jaylen Brown's 8-2. He had a huge game last night. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of scoring heavy. A lot of those points came in the first half. No blocks or steals. Still got you over 40 fantasy points, just over 8K. So he's going to be a solid play here. Let me take a quick look at the injury report. Um, yeah, I mean, they haven't submitted their injury report as of this morning. I would just keep an eye on things. Sometimes on a back-to-back, you see teams rest guys. And then let's check our model for the Detroit's in there yet. Um, but yeah, yesterday Cade Cunningham was out, which was going to create big opportunities for guys like Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes, Corey Joseph. We saw Corey Joseph get the start. Probably not the best card play. He finished with one fantasy point, and Killian Hayes came off the bench and actually looked pretty decent. You can see the stat line here. 11 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Solid day for Killian Hayes. I do think he's going to be a good play again here if Cunningham's out. If Cunningham's in, I do think we probably want to prioritize him, at least when we're talking about this game specifically. He's been a usage monster there all season. If he's out, I do think we go back to Jaden Ivey, who had a bit of a dud yesterday. Sadiq Bey, similar story. Neither of these guys were great, but whenever Cunningham's out, I think we have to look to them. Um, what else? Yeah, Marvin Bagley's listed as questionable. He's been out. If he's in suddenly, I probably won't go there. I'd like to see him play a few minutes. But yeah, it's the usual suspects for Boston. Tatum and Brown look good up top on both sides. Marcus Smart is going to see a boost with Brogdon out. Derek White becomes more relevant. And then, yeah, Al Horford. We actually saw Grant Williams start last night. If he's once again in the starting lineup, he's a solid piece of value. We saw him push 30 fantasy points on both sides, just over 4K in price. So, yeah, maybe not the fastest game in terms of pace, but we're looking at a 226.5 point total. So I do think this is a good place to target some plays. But yeah, keep an eye on the news. I don't know that there's any must-have sort of plays from this game, but I do really like Tatum and Brown, even on the back-to-back against a soft defensive Pistons team on the road. So hopefully the Pistons being at home can keep that game pretty close. Um, yeah, I'll start on FanDuel to discuss the next game. I'll bounce between the two sites because I know we have viewers and players who like to use both. I like to use both. Um, Fred VanVleet is up to 9K now on FanDuel. I think that's about where he should be. I just clicked Siakam by mistake, but he's out right now. So that creates usage for all of the other Toronto starters. Um, let's see. Anyone else out today for Toronto? Yeah, they've yet to submit their injury report. But just scrolling through, I think Precious Achiuwa is going to be out again. Siakam obviously out again. So really it's the starters. I mean, it depends on which site, which guy you want to prioritize. I really like OG Anunoby, but he's definitely more affordable over on a DraftKings, where you're getting him at 7,300. It's like he and Barnes' prices are kind of flipped between the two sites. I like Barnes more on FanDuel. I like OG more on DK. And then Gary Trent looks okay on both sites. Fred VanVleet looks really, really good though on DK at only 8,200. He's been dominating the usage with Siakam out. They're only a point and a half underdogs on the road against the Pacers team that plays pretty quick and doesn't play much defense. So VanVleet's a play I'm going to be looking at here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about the front court. We've seen Otto Porter getting a few more minutes if you're desperate for a punt. I probably won't get there. Chris Boucher, he's kind of a boomer bust tournament only play. He had a huge game last night though. 12 points, 2 steals, 20 real points. So Boucher may be a good value option, but it does feel a bit chasey going back there out after a ceiling game because he had a few iffy games before that. Keep an eye on that starting lineup. If he does slide into the starting lineup, I certainly would like him more. I don't think that's very likely. Nick Nurse does like him coming in off the bench and providing that spark. But yeah, it's really Fred VanVleet for me on both sides. He's definitely better on DK, but I do like him pretty much everywhere. And yeah, all these starters should look pretty good here. Moving into the Pacers, uh, da, 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 da. I don't think they have any major injuries. Chris Duarte is still out. Daniel Tice hasn't played really this season. Then there's a couple G League guys listed as questionable. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's been solid all season, but he healed. I don't love him at his price. He's kind of boomer bust. Same deal with Miles Turner. We've seen some 50-point fantasy games out of him, but this is a tricky matchup. But yeah, I mean, it's 7K. On FanDuel, you can play him at power forward. I think he's more valuable there. Center only on DK, but 6,300. Certainly a solid option. And then good old Benedict Mathurin. I mean, this kid has been awesome. He's in the running for Rookie of the Year, even coming off the bench. Very scoring dependent, so he's going to have big games. He's going to have some games that he lets you down, but I do like him as long as Duarte's out. His minutes should be secure, but certainly more of a GBP play, like I said, because he's scoring dependent. If that shot's not falling against a tough defensive team like Toronto, that's not ideal. But yeah, I do like him on both sides, and I do really like Turner on DK at 6,300. I just think that's a great price. And Tyrese Halliburton, always a play I'm interested in. So yeah, really no major priorities here. I would say Miles Turner looks good. Certainly on DraftKings, and then you're getting the power forward eligibility on FanDuel, which makes it more appealing over there. So moving right along into this Hawks at Sixers game. Yeah, still no Bogdanovich for the Hawks. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. I think that's their only major injury. He probably won't be back for a little bit longer. So this is tricky. I mean, we got Murray and Trey up top. You're getting a little bit of a discount on Trey. Murray's been the more productive of the two. I think both these guys are solid pay up GPP options, but I don't think I would ever want both of them in the same lineup. I will say, yeah, Murray at 10K on DK looks fine. 10-3 for Trey feels a little dicey. This is the most expensive he's been all season. Um, I mean, against Philly, I'm really not rushing to either of them, but I think in tournaments they'll be low owned. Um, But yeah, I do like them a little bit better on FanDuel where it's easier to fit multiple pay up plays. But yeah, Joel Embiid seems finally healthy after dealing with an illness for the better part of last week. Hasn't always been hitting value, but on this slate, I do like his price. Let's see here. Much better on FanDuel. Yeah, 11-1 on DK is going to be tough to get to. But again, I mean, that's going to keep other people off him as well. So that's someone we could maybe pay up for. But yeah, no major priorities in this game. I'm going to refresh the model in a minute. But yeah, let's see if there's anything popping here for Philly or Atlanta. Yeah, we talked about Miles Turner on DK. He looks really good. Horford, another solid option, Smart. So yeah, we've been nailing the plays going through, but this is the Occupy model. You can sort by value for each site, see the best plays, and yeah, I got a little bit late to a start to this video today, so we're already getting some ownership numbers in, and it looks like Miles Turner's way up there. Tyrese Maxey, 8K on DK, 7,700 on FanDuel is going to be a solid play. And I want to see DeAnthony Melton's price. He's been a good option for us, but his price has been coming up. And I mean, he doesn't always have the usage, but the minutes have been there. Yeah, only 18 fantasy points last time out. 6,400 on DK is going to be tough for me to want to get to. Um, but yeah, 5,800 on FanDuel, a little bit more manageable. And then opposite Embiid, I mean, we do have Clint Capella. His minutes have fluctuated, but he's flashed a very high ceiling in terms of fantasy points this year. Um, hmm. But yeah, a pretty good game environment. I don't know that we need anything there, just because injuries create opportunity in NBA DFS, and there's really not many here outside of the Harden injury. I do like Embiid a lot on FanDuel. He's one of my preferred payups. He's definitely tougher to get to over on DK. So another decent game. That kind of seems to be the theme of the slate so far. A lot of decent spots. No one we're really forcing in. We move into the 8 o'clock games here. We have the Miami Heat at the Charlotte Hornets. I do believe this is the widest spread on the slate. I think the Heat are more than 10-point favorites. Um, and yeah, we do have some injuries to keep an eye on. I mean, namely, Tyler Hero's listed as questionable. That's something we definitely have to monitor. If he's out, guys like Max Strus, Caleb Martin all become more interesting. Even a Kyle Lowry, who's inconsistent, but where you're getting him sub 7K, I definitely have some interest in him. Jimmy Butler's been solid, but certainly the usage is higher with Hero out. So I would feel better about paying up for him if Tyler Hero's out in this one. Um, but yeah, Gabe Vincent's been a nice value play off the bench. Not many people are going to him, but I've been playing him a lot. He's been hitting value pretty consistently. So I do like Gabe Vincent to get you maybe just over 20, 25 fantasy points if you need the value. Another guy, though, I mean, all these kind of secondary pieces for Miami are better if Hero is out. If Hero is in, he's certainly viable. 7,700 on DK, maybe not my favorite option. On FanDuel, I think he's a little bit more manageable. Yeah, 7K flat. Decent play over there. But yeah, I mean, all the starters look fine for Miami. Then on the Hornets, still no Gordon Hayward, still no LaMelo Ball, still no Cody Martin. Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable. If Dennis Smith Jr. is out, I mean, that's going to open some things up. Terry Rozier's been back and looking solid. 8,600 on DK. 8K over on FanDuel. He's going to be a better play with Smith out, but I do like him on both sides. Mason Plumlee's a decent center punt. There's a lot of good centers on this slate, though, so I don't know that I'm prioritizing him. Um, but yeah, Kelly Oubre, really high ceiling, but he's scoring dependent, so kind of a boomer bust option, but he's cheap enough that I do like him. Let's see, any Charlotte hopping up? I mean, we're getting Caleb Martin as a value as it stands. I mentioned Mason Plumlee. He's popping up there pretty decently. Um, what about FanDuel? Charlotte. Yeah, so no one really climbing to the top of the model from this game. Decent game environment. Let me take a quick look at the total. 213. So maybe that's why we're not seeing a ton of value pop here or ownership. It's because this is probably the lowest total on the slate with the widest spread. So just from a Vegas angle, this maybe isn't the best game to target. But yeah, I mean, when you kind of think things and work through them out loud, you also have to realize that the field's probably in the same boat. So, well, I'm not excited to go there. No one else probably is either, which is going to keep ownership down in that game and make it more interesting. So then we get two 8:30 games. I really like how condensed the slate is. The first game and last game are only an hour and a half apart in terms of lock time. So yeah, let's move into Portland against Dallas. Dallas is at home, minus 5 point favorites, 217.5 point total. Yeah, Luka, not surprisingly, one of the best plays on the slate. He's been amazing. A lot of people think he's a front runner for MVP right now, kind of neck and neck with Giannis on the Bucks. No Giannis on the slate. We're seeing 12-6 and 12-2 for Luka. Not trying a lot of ownership though. So to me, I mean, he's going to be tough to get to. We need more value to open up. But whenever you're getting Luka sub 10%, he's going to be very, very appealing to me. Excuse me, especially in tournaments. So I do like Luka a lot here. Let's see if we're getting any injury news out of Dallas. Yeah, so Christian Wood is now probable. Okay, as a GPP play. He's been inconsistent, especially when we're talking about his minutes. But yeah, I mean, if you can fit Luka, more power to you. I think he's a great play here. And then Spencer Dinwiddie's been surprisingly awesome for the Mavericks as a secondary scoring option. His price is up a bit. And I mean, as people start to chase that, I do think he becomes not as great of a play. But back-to-back games over 45 fantasy points, and we've seen a lot of 40s out of him this year. So when you're getting that sub 7K, he's going to be a very valuable piece. I think in cash games you could play him. As long as he's below 7K, 6,700 on DK, I don't mind playing him with Luka. He's actually been cutting into Luka's production a little bit, so maybe if you're paying up for Luka, you probably don't want Spence. But if you got Spence in there and you somehow have the salary for Luka, I know it's kind of a contradiction, but I wouldn't mind Luka as kind of a last man in if you could find a price for him. But if you're building around Luka, Spence or Dinwiddie's probably not the first guy I go to. But yeah, I do like this game. Finney Smith's been okay. There's a lot of value here, just nothing that really jumps off the page. I'll check the model to see if yeah, Finney Smith, who I mentioned, is towards the top. Reggie Bullock's okay, scoring dependent. The minutes are there for him. The usage isn't always there for him. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. And then on the Blazers side, we got Jeremy Grant probable, Nurkic is questionable, Shady on Sharp is questionable. Justice Winslow is listed as probable. So yeah, I mean, if Nurkic is out, we could, excuse me, once again look to Drew Eubanks. He's been pretty solid whenever we're getting him in the starting lineup. His price really hasn't budged. And if you're trying to jam in someone like Luka tonight, maybe you get Eubanks in there. And with those games being the last to lock on the slate, we should have all the news we need by that time. Let's see. I do like 4,100 on DK. 3,500 still on FanDuel. I mean, if he starts, I really do like him here, and that kind of hinges on whether or not Nurkic is going to play. So yeah, keep an eye on that news. He's true questionable. Coming off 2 games, he wasn't in there. We should get news throughout the day. But yeah, one of the better game environments on the slate. I do really, really like Luka if you can afford him. He's kind of tough to fit though. So hopefully more value opens up throughout the day. But yeah, as it stands, I mean, Finney Smith works as a value play, never the highest ceiling, but a pretty decent floor for you. Yeah, really, I mean, there's just not a ton of value yet on the slate. So hopefully we get news that a few guys are ruled out throughout the day to kind of open things up a bit more. But yeah, as it stands, maybe we're not quite seeing that. And there are a few games on during the day today. I know Brooklyn and Utah both play. I mean, Brooklyn's at the Clippers, Utah's at Washington. Just make sure if you're kind of just looking at a stats page or something like that, that you're not really leaning on those players because they're not going to be on the main slate. And then we have one more game here. The Houston Rockets at the New Orleans Pelicans. 233-point total. The Pelicans are 10.5-point favorites. So there is a small degree of blowout risk in this one. And the thing with the Pelicans, they're really good fantasy plays, but it's tough to know who's going to go off on a given night. You have Zion, Ingram, and McCollum, all as nice high upside GPP options. I don't know that I would want more than one in a single lineup, but they're certainly all viable here. And let's see how the prices look over on FanDuel as well. Yeah, so they're similar on both sides. I think Ingram's probably my favorite of the group. when we're talking about those three. Slight discount off of the others. I know McCollum had a really good game the other night. But yeah, it didn't quite get there in terms of value. I think Ingram's going to hit that value most consistently. I'd call him the highest floor play. Williamson's certainly the highest ceiling play, but his minutes kind of fluctuate and he gets in foul trouble sometimes. So a little bit riskier, more of a tournament option, but I do think you can look to Ingram. But yeah, I mean, the main reason we're not seeing a ton out of this game is, yeah, Kira Lewis and EJ Liddell are on the injury report, but they're really not moving the needle. Then we look over on the Houston side. We have Deshaun Tate out, Bruno Fernando's still out. So Alperen Sengun's always a play I'm interested in. If you're not going to be able to pay up for, say, and beat on DK, I do think Alperen Sengun is one of the better center options. So he's someone I might prioritize a bit. And then the backcourt looks good. You're getting Suggs and Kevin Porter Jr. I think they both look solid here. But yeah, no major value popping up. I mean, Kevin Porter's up there, but he's just under 8K, so it's hard to really call him a value play. But whenever you're seeing kind of mid to high price guys popping for value, that means they're going to be really strong plays everywhere. Eric Gordon's popping. Pretty risky, scoring dependent wing/shooting guard. I do think you could get there though. And like I said, as it stands, we're kind of scraping for value. So just to touch on a few things quickly, we've gone through each game. Keep an eye on the news, guys. Once again, please click that like button. Please click subscribe to help these videos stay at the top of the YouTube algorithms. But yeah, I mean, Nembhard's popping highly for Indy, Al Horford, Gary Trent. I don't know. It's tricky right now. I think you're probably going to want to go with more of a balanced build. So it's going to be tough to fit a Luka or an Embiid. I mean, you're probably going to have to pick one or the other and then fill out your lineup with mid-range plays. Just take a quick look at ownership. Miles Turner way up there on DK. I think he's an excellent option. Jaden Ivey, if Cade Cunningham is out again, is probably going to be a core play for me. And Sengun. I mean, if you go Turner, Sengun at center, you're not going to get to an MB, but maybe that allows you to fit someone like Luka. Then over on FanDuel, where it is usually easier to fit the studs up top, I think you go with Melton, you punt with a guy like Nembhard, you could probably fit Luka in there relatively easily. You could go with Sengun at center, maybe Turner at the power forward. But yeah, pretty fun slate, guys. We don't have too much news yet. So if you're not already a member, please come join us at Occupy Fantasy. You get access to our model, you get access to our lineup builder, and you get access to one-on-one expert advice. As news breaks throughout the day and more value plays open up, you'll be able to fit more of these pay-ups into your lineups. Because as it stands, it's tricky. But yeah, the models certainly help make things easier. Once again, my name's Nick Marro here with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. And let's have some fun tonight. Let's make some money. Good luck, everyone. Happy Saturday.